Let's begin with the very first Royal Command performance that was here back in 1955. We had the Royal Party, which included Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, the late Queen, and then we moved on to 2009. And the 2009 Royal Variety performance, again, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, she was here with her party. We had the third Royal Variety performance in 2020, a very different Royal Variety performance. Because of COVID, we had no audience. But if we do go back to 2009, there was no royal box within the Opera House. There was in 1955, but that box was removed for a production of Cats. So where were the royal party going to sit for the 2009 Royal Variety performance? Let me show you. Once the audience had been seated for the 2009 Royal Variety performance, the royal party came down the stairs and walked along the front of the dress circle where I am now. And it was here that they had their new royal box, and it included the area that we're now stood in. And the reason I've stopped here is because I want to ask Jed Mills, who was a presenter on our local radio station, Radio Wave, and you spent a lot of time here during the 2009 Royal Variety performance backstage conducting interviews.
Yeah, and it was very much a sort of a, once you were in and back, you could not, for security reasons, leave the building. It was all sort of blocked off.
Yeah.
But the interviews that we did, and as you know, we have some great shows at Winter Gardens and other theatres, so we had lots of stars coming to the radio station. But this was the likes of Bette Midler, Lady Gaga, Michael Bublé was probably one of the biggest artists around of 2009. Yeah. And then, if anyone remembers, Miley Cyrus, who was Hannah Montana,
yes,
and starting to then transition into the Miley Cyrus, you know, we were interviewing all those people backstage, and just they were so, you know, these were huge stars,
yeah,
but they were just so lovely and welcoming, and also just wanted to be here and loved. I would say being outside of the London bubble, if that made sense.
It does, because everything to do with the Royal Variety performance has always been known as being in London. People forget that it has left the big city and coming to somewhere like this. I mean, we are talking a 3,000-seat auditorium. It is a huge audience, but the likes of Miley Cyrus along with Michael Bublé, Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
You got to speak to them?
We did, and you know, Catherine Jenkins as well, and you know, just the whole performance was, like you say, it was all about variety.
Yeah.
But what I remember from that that evening, as it was just how lovely these artists were. You came in nervous. I was only a young presenter at the time, so you know, you were meeting huge superstars, but just how normal.
Yeah.
Was probably the best way to describe them. They were so normal, made us feel so welcome. And we got some great material, which, not being in Blackpool, we would never have got.
No, not with that calibre of star. Keeley, I have to ask. Keeley, Southworth, you are PR for the Winter Gardens. Whatever that entails, whether it's the shows, whether it's something to do with the heritage, whether it's something to do with renovation work, you're involved in it.
I am. I feel very blessed. I see a lot of things behind the scenes. I've worked with the Winter Gardens for about 20 years, so I was here for 2009 Royal Variety performance, which was amazing.
That's the one I want to talk about. You spent a lot of time setting up interviews for the media, whether it was our local radio stations, newspapers, or whether it was the nationals who were here as well. How did that work? Where were you based? Were you here backstage on the night, trying to run around and sort everything out?
I was in flat shoes. I think we did about 124 interviews during the day. It was about 6 months in the planning. We used the whole of the venue, so there was a media gallery, there was breakout rooms, there was interview rooms, and my job really was to go and find the superstar, collect them, Shaka Khan in her Ugg boots and Lulu in her slippers, and then make sure they were with the correct media for that time slot, keep it to time, and then deliver them back, and then bring the next person. So it was a hugely exciting day.
It must have been madness at the same time. Obviously, it would have been timed to perfection, but everything that was going on, you being able to pull these names out and taking them to the media so that they could interview them. How did that happen?
I had a timer in my pocket. I used a phone, so I didn't run over ever. But the media were just amazing, very understanding of the coordination and efforts that it took to kind of move everybody around the building. And the stars themselves were just hugely pleased to be in Blackpool. It was something really different. So they were all really, really accommodating. It was a brilliant, brilliant day.
One that you'll always remember for a long time, I'm sure.
100%. I think the highlight for me was Lady Gaga's sound check, though. In the theatre, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they allowed 40 crew in, and she was winched up onto her 10-foot high spider piano, and sang Speechless, which is about her parents, which is a hugely emotional song, but you could hear a pin drop in here, and it was, one of the highlights of my career.
It will stay with you for a long time.
It will.
Keeley, thank you. So now you know how important the Opera House is when it comes to the Royal Variety performance. It was great to catch up with both Jed and Keeley and hear from them what they remember, their reminiscences about that iconic performance.